Hello viewers and welcome to Full Spinnaker Ahead. This is episode 5 of a series called Up to the Clarence, and in this particular episode we are in the Clarence River and we're starting to make our way upstream to find a place to base the boat so that we can do a job up in the hinterland. Also, we take great interest in the new scenery and the new lay of the land and the way they do things up here, so we're just going to share all that with you in the next episode or two, so stay tuned. Power line ahead, 28.9 metres, so I shouldn't have any trouble, but I always wonder whether they're at the specific height. I know they should be, and it's no, but what a disaster if it wasn't. Anyway, we should be right. Under the power lines, and if you notice on the tower of the power line, there's an eagle's nest in its structure. Under the power line, and then we pass one of the remaining river ferries. It's a cable ferry that's got so you can only pass it when the ferry's docked on one side, because that's when the cables are slack and you can pass it about midstream to get over it. But the whole area used to have more vehicle ferries and passenger ferries to service all the different islands. But now with the Harwood Bridge built and the Pacific Highway Bridge, or just bridges in general built, they don't rely on them so much. Well, there's only 2 left, I think, on the Clarence. How are you, GoPro? Chucked a bit of a fit there for a while. Now you're good. Just chugging along the Clarence, absorbing all the new scenery. It's roughly around about 3 to 5 metres or so in the channel, and it's marked by navigation buoys, so it's really easy to navigate. Coming up to a little place up here called Brush Grove, and it would have been a good spot to base the boat because it's a nice little cleared area with a pub and a pontoon there, but probably just a bit too far from Grafton, so we chugged on to see what else was available. Stopped out the front of Almara on the opposite side there. There's a designated anchorage, which was a good sign for a place to leave my boat, and the next morning decided to take the tinny over to the pontoon, the floating pontoon, public pontoon, to have a look at Almara itself. One of the pleasing things on the floating pontoon was there was a couple of dinghies just sitting there, and it sort of made me feel like that it's not too bad for leaving things there, they don't just get stolen. And when we got up into the town precinct, it sort of confirmed everything looks really nice. It's been sort of done up in like a heritage township. Pretty impressive, so it was getting some points for me for a place to base myself out of. 17 metres in flood. I need 18.6 metres, but it's not flooding, so it's normally meant to be 19.8 here, which I could possibly fit under, but I want 2 metres really, so it takes me out of the picture, so I'm not even going to try it. They actually make me nervous when I just see them hanging there, because I used to hit a power line once when I was flying, and just seeing that line just irks me a bit. We're in 1.6 metres of water right on the edge here, and yeah, I'm not going through there. .7 metres of water. We're on the Clarence River, just shy of Grafton. We tried to anchor on that side of Elizabeth Island, but it must be really hard ground. The anchor's just rumbling over the top of it. You can see the other side of the island, you can see the boat ramp there at Grafton. I haven't gone any further there. There's a power line. It would be very touch and go to get under that side, but that side is possible, but it's at that, you know, marginal point where you just want to make sure, so I probably won't do it just yet unless I get some better information. And we're on the high side of the river in 3.7 metres of water. Pretty sheltered, covered area. On the other side, it's a bit more open. I don't really know where to go as far as that goes, but I plan on leaving the boat here for a bit at some point to go and get my car and when I'm working. So this is probably not a bad spot. Yeah, just leave it at that. The window to the rest of the world. Just having a well-earned lunch here. Trying to decide on where a good place to leave the boat is. I can't get into Grafton, so I'm going to take the tinny into Grafton, which you'll see in a minute, and get a bit of an idea or a bit of a feel for Grafton. Once again in Grafton, there's the big bridge. That's pretty new. That takes most of the traffic in Grafton. And then there's the older bridge, which is that truss looking bridge. It's also a lift bridge, but it doesn't lift anymore, I don't think. And so they've still got the old and the new bridges side by side. There's a little dock which I found, and then had to walk around Grafton to get a bit of a idea of what Grafton's like. Grafton jetty landing. This is where I left me tinny. Couple of railway lines run through with all these pillars, and they've got graffiti all over them, which is a bit of a highlight, I reckon. Talking about Grafton, making an assessment, should I leave my boat out front of Grafton, which I can't do anyway, but up further where we were talking about before, and I didn't really get a great feeling of security in Grafton, a fairly commercial sort of a feel about it, and yeah, I don't think it would be safe. So I think Almara was looking better, you know, with the unchained tinnies on the dock, and just a all-round safer place to leave my vessel. Morning, just up downstream from Grafton. Had a bit of rain last night.
you can see. And the one thing that is different, there's always a lot of fog in the morning coming off the river, a lot of steam and spider webs. Had the new paddleboard slash windsurfer board out yesterday just to start using it. It's a massive board. It's 3 meters and a bit long. That one. Lots of fog. And they've got this grass, this cane grass I'll call it, on the side of the river that grows really, this is it here, grows really tall and thick. It's like sugar cane, and I'm just wondering whether it actually is sugar cane, but the actual cane you get out of it is quite strong. And I was thinking I could make a couple of green pieces, make a lid for me boxes here, for these boxes, just a little cane lid. I know, I'll have to find out some information about all this stuff, because you've got all these spider webs everywhere. That I want to find out what creates them. It might be a lucerne flea or something like that. Apparently they get them on the Grafton Bridge in the morning with the steam coming off. It looks really, really specky. To find out what they are. A few different plant species, like a big fig tree type thing that animals have been using for shade in the paddocks. Kikuyu and cooch as a favourable pasture grass. Sounds a bit odd, but, and what else? Oh yeah, a couple other plant species that look different. So get in there and do some homework on those. So I did a quick bit of research on the spider situation and found out there's many different types of spiders. So I'm just going to concentrate on the techniques that I found, and one is called ballooning, where they throw out a web, whether it be a single thread or multiple threads, to catch the breeze, and then they get a ride on that web to a higher spot, hoping that catches on something up higher, and to get out of the way of floodwaters, or just to get to a place where they can catch some prey. And the other type of web they seem to use is a web made in a circular fashion or crisscross or something, so they can catch prey with it, where the prey flies in or walks into the web and gets stuck. You can use the web as a bit of a telephone, where they can feel the vibrations in the web so they know where the prey is. So that's sort of my summary of the situation, and we'll leave it at that. And another characteristic I noticed was that in the morning the webs will be there, and then later on they're just all gone, like as if something's taken them away. And I just found a bit of information there that say the orb spider on the Grafton Bridge sometimes just pulls the web down before, or doesn't leave them there all day anyway, and they just sort of seem to disappear, which seemed to be what I've noticed.
So we've just given the schnauzel a bone, and while she's eating that, we'll just go into some of the other research I did on some of the flora that we come across. I'm not trying to be 100% technical correct, because I'm not, but I just find that the more you know about what's around you, the more interesting it becomes. Turns out kikuyu and cooch are both a good pasture species for the grazing of livestock, offering good pasture for summer and autumn, being moderately drought resistant. However, cooch grass is not as good as improved pastures. The Moreton Bay fig on the side of the road and as a shade tree in the middle of a pasture paddock falls upon my eyes as being quite strange and unusual. The camphor laurel tree, found in many of the townships for shade trees, is also used as a scented furniture timber, is basically everywhere along the side of the river as well. This plant here is the castor oil plant. It has many industrial uses and is highly poisonous, and found on the riverbanks of the Clarence River. This is not the wild tobacco plant that you should be smoking. It's a nightshade plant and poisonous as well to humans and stock. Just sorting the boat out for a bit of work, getting some work gear off the boat. Like this year I took all my work gear with me on the boat. So some trestles, step ladder, trestles again, the ladders. I'm just got my car ready, and I'm just gonna transfer all my stuff onto the car. I've got an appointment tomorrow to have a look at a job for re-stumping a house, about 3/4 of an hour away. So I'm going to do that job first, if it all works out. So I'm just starting to get everything ready for it. I did a trip back to Port Stephens where I left my work ute. It was a train trip and a bus trip. Took about a day, and it's just so that we can take all the work gear up to Imboida, which is in the hinterland, and to do the job. It's about a 60k run every day, so that should work out really well. Hello viewers, you probably noticed so far that we're not parking, already decided where to park the boat, and that's at Elmara, because Elmara just seemed like it had a lot more security going for it. Like, it's got a designated anchoring spot, and the feel of the village was very good, you know, like with dinghies down on the jetty. The people were really friendly, whereas around Grafton it just seemed a little bit too industrial, and I wouldn't be able to bring my boat in front of Grafton anyway. I'd have to be up the river a bit, which just seemed a bit more exposed. Brushgrove down the river was a nice spot as well, but just a little bit further away from my job, which is 60 k's from Elmara anyway. So that's why we decided on Elmara. Just doing the bimini again, the zip. I've done so many repairs on it, but never really gone over the whole thing, and I'm not going to go over it again. Just doing the zipper repair because it come apart. The old stitching is just decayed.
I've always had this twin tub on washing machine on board, never used it, so this is the first time. I've been cleaning the water with my desalinator out of the Clarence. So the Clarence water has got fresh underneath and salt underneath, fresh on top. And I've been running it through the desalinator and chucking it in the tank, and it seems alright. So I've been plenty of water. So I decided I'd do a bit of washing and see how that went. To power the twin tub, I was using 240 volts from the inverter, and at the same time I was making some water. That's the water tank level, and this is the reverse osmosis desalinator, so you're getting a fair rate of fair flow rate going, because there wasn't much salt in the top water of the Clarence. It was mostly fresh. The thing I liked about the twin tub, it was pretty flexible. You couldn't put much in it, but it did wash it pretty vigorously, I thought, and you could also keep the main tub water instead of wasting it for another load. But I think I went overboard there for a bit there, and it got a bit too manky. So we're coming to the end of another episode. Thanks for watching. Full spinning gear ahead to your dreams, because you definitely never know what's around the corner. See you next time with more action on the Clarence and the build up in Nimboida.